This conference will now be recorded.
Okay, before starting AMDP, we need to understand object-oriented approach. We are going to discuss this three classes. So with this, we are able to understand even entire OOBs, even though you do not know OOBs. After these classes, you are able to understand OOBs and as well as you are able to work even in the real time. And of course, you can easily understand even AMDP as well. So once these object-oriented approach classes are completed, we will start AMDP. So before starting this, do we have any questions from the previous classes? Is it clear? Is it good to go to the new topic? Any questions? Okay. So if we talk about any programming language, is categorized into two approaches. Each and every programming language is categorized into two approaches. They are procedural and object-oriented. Procedural means it's sequential steps. Code execution goes through step by step. Object-oriented is more modern. Code execution goes through classes and methods. C is completely procedural language and Java is completely object-oriented language. Now my question for you is, what about ABAP? Is ABAP procedural language or object-oriented language?
Procedural oriented concept.
Anyone else?
Procedural.
C++ is both procedural and object-oriented language. ABAP is like C++, which is both procedural and object-oriented language. ABAP is built on C and C++. We can develop an ABAP program or an ABAP code using either completely procedural or object-oriented or even both. In the same program, you can call objects, classes, methods, function modules. So you can do that, right? So it is both procedural and object-oriented language. Each and every object-oriented approach contains some concepts, whether it is ABAP object-oriented or Java object-oriented, whatever it is, irrespective of any programming language. Object-oriented approach contains the concepts. They are, and before that we need to understand what is class. For example, in ABAP, we usually declare variables like this. Here, Kunar is data type or predefined data type, and LV Kunar is called variable or a data object. Here Kunnar is data type or predefined data type. And LV Kunnar is variable or data object. So for this Kunnar, like, or you can also write LV I type I, whether it is I or Kunnar, these are called predefined data types or data types. For this, memory is not allocated. Here, LV Kunnar is a variable or data object. For this, memory is allocated. For this, memory is allocated. Similarly, in object-oriented approach, we usually declare like this: LV OBJ. We don't use type there, but we use type ref2 and class name. Here, this is the class name, which is like predefined data type or data type. For this, memory is not allocated. Class name is like predefined data type or data type. It's like a template. For this, memory is not allocated. This LVOBJ is a object or a variable. Here we call instantiation of the class. For this, memory is allocated. For this, memory is allocated. In normal procedural, we use type, but here we use type ref. We can compare object-oriented approach with our day-to-day life. If you think human is a class, first of all, you can compare human is with a class. So, class which contains data or definition, class contains data or definition and implementation. We can compare object-oriented approach with our day-to-day life. Even we can compare human is with the class, because each and every human contains data or definition or properties and the functions or implementation. Here, color, weight, height, these are all the properties or data or definition of the human. And eating, drinking, these are all the functions or implementation of the human. So what is a class? Class contains data, definition or properties and implementation or functions. We can compare human with a class. Human contains properties or data or definition like height, weight, color, and functions like eating, drinking. So however we discussed, class is like a template. For that, memory is not allocated like data type or predefined data type. Similarly, human doesn't need any physical existence. Human doesn't have height or weight, it doesn't contain any physical existence. But if you say Venkat type ref to human, or Pani type ref to human, or Raju type ref to human, or Madhu type ref to human, so these are all objects, Venkat, Madhu, Raju, because Venkat has some physical existence. Raju has some physical existence. These are all like objects. However, class is like a template. There is no physical, there is no memory allocated for that. Objects are instantiation of the classes for those memories not allocated. Memory is allocated. Similarly, human is like a class, no physical existence, no memory, but Venkat, Raju, Ram, Ganesh, these are all objects because they are all having physical existence. And each and every object-oriented approach contains some concepts. They are encapsulation, abstraction, polymorphism, before that inheritance. Then polymorphism. Encapsulation means putting all together in one unit. Usually we have medicines, among that we have tablets. Similarly, we also have capsules. Why do we call them as capsules? Because everything is inside that. Encapsulation means putting all together in one unit. Here class is the example for encapsulation because class contains everything. Class contains everything. Everything means if I want to implement a method to read sales order data, another method to read customer data, another method to read vendor data, whatever we want, everything can be implemented in one class. All the functionalities can be integrated or implemented in one class. So we can put everything inside the class. We can put all the business logic inside a class. So that's why we call it's an encapsulation. Class is like encapsulation. Abstraction means system hide the implementation part. It means, for example, I'm teaching the class in a laptop or a desktop. I don't know how this laptop or desktop is made, but I know how to use this laptop and desktop. That is abstraction. Similarly, I have a method which gives age when we give the date of birth. We know how to use that method. We pass the date of birth and it gives the age. But we don't need to know what is inside that function method. We don't need to know what is inside that method. That is abstraction. Abstraction means system hide the implementation. So class method is the abstraction, is the example for abstraction. Inheritance means acquiring the properties from the root. Inheritance is acquiring the properties from the root. For example, we have father and son. Again his son. Father, son. Son gets all the properties from father in addition to his own properties. Same way this son one contains his father and like grandfather properties. In object-oriented approach, similarly, we have class. This is called superclass, subclass. And we have two types of inheritances, multiple and multi-level. So this is multi-level. We also have another inheritance, that is multiple inheritance, like father has two sons, but this inheritance, multiple inheritance, is not feasible in Java and object-oriented approach. Interfaces substituted the functionality of multiple inheritance. We will discuss what is interface in the coming classes tomorrow or in the next class. So interface is like a class. It has definition, but it doesn't have implementation. To be implemented by class, interface is to be implemented by class or to create reference variables which can hold objects of other classes. Polymorphism means the same object behaves in different ways, then we call it as a polymorphism. Let me tell you some WhatsApp example for this. Let's say there is a family and father asks the servant to bring the red label, then servant asks back whether it is half liter or quarter or liter. Then mother asked the same servant to bring the red label, then he asked back whether it is 250 grams or 100 grams. So the same red label behaved here in a two different ways. In one way it is a alcohol and another way it is like a tea powder. That is called polymorphism. Same way here also, if you create one interface, the method get data. If I implement the same method to display the vendor details, and if you implement the same method to display the customer details, someone implement to display the sales order details. This is what polymorphism. The same method is implemented in a different ways and the same method is behaving in a different ways. So these are the object-oriented approach concepts. So is it clear everyone? Any questions till now? Can I get responses in the chat box? Okay. We also need to understand visibilities. We have visible. First of all, each and every class has data definition or properties, means they are called attributes or properties, and methods. So Each and every class has visibility areas. They are public, protected, private. If you define a class or an attribute as a public, they are accessible inside the class and outside the class. If you define attribute or a method as a protected, it is accessible inside the class and inside the inheritance tree. Inheritance means inside the subclasses. If it is private, it is accessible only inside the class. In ABAP object-oriented approach, we also have two types of classes, local class and global class. Local class is created in SC38 in ABAP program and called in the same program. Global class is created in SC24 and it can be called inside the system in anywhere in a program or a smart workflow or smart form, everywhere we can call. So let me show you the documents which I have already shared you some set of people. Let me share you the documents, then show you the document, then I will go to the next topic. Coming to the object-oriented approach. So this is what we discussed. Each and every language, two approaches, procedural, object-oriented, and data, CUNAR, predefined type, variable, and class contains, human is like a class, and encapsulation, abstraction, inheritance, and there are two types of multi-level and multiple. Multiple is not feasible, possible, or feasible, and visibility is public, protected, private, and local, global class. So we discussed this. All these things we discussed, you can find everything inside this document. So you can go through this document in OOABAP 3rd June 2016, whatever it is. You can go in this document, whatever discussed till now, you can find it. But now I am opening another document. I am going to explain now local class, how to create a local class. So before that, I want to check with everyone, whatever we discussed so far, is it clear for you? Let me know if you have any questions. Now I am going to explain a local class. So local class is created in ABAP editor. So first I'm just explaining the requirement first, what I'm going to do. Whatever I give in the input, I want to display the same in the output. That is my requirement. Of course, for that, there is no need of creating a class and implementing the class. One statement is enough, right? Right. But I just want to explain you how to define a class and how to implement the class. That is our concept here. So every class has two things. Here our class name is A. Every class has two things, definition and implementation. So class name, definition, class name, implementation, and end class. So every class has two things, that is definition and implementation. In definition means class name, definition, and end class. Class name, implementation, and end class. Now in the definition, we need to define methods or attributes. In the implementation, we implement the methods. So again, in the definition, we have the visibility sections like public section. Under public section, whatever we define methods or attributes, they are all like public methods or public attributes. Similarly, if you define under protected section, they are all like protected methods or attributes. Also, private section. If you define something under private section, they are all comes like private methods or private attributes. So whatever we define under public section, whether it is an attribute or method, they are all like public methods or attributes. Whatever we define under protected section, they are all like protected methods or attributes, same like private. As of now, I am defining under public section data int type. Here data is like a declaration. Data means usually it's a declaration, but here it's an attribute. It's an attribute. Here int is an attribute. Int is an attribute. Same way we define methods like writing methods keyword, and this is the method name. And however, we have function module has signature like import, export tables, changing exceptions. Like same way the perform contains tables using changing, same way method also contains the signature like import, export, changing, returning will be discussed in the next class with details. But as of now, we are concentrating 42 things like importing. So method set value importing val1 type by. What is this? So this methods is a keyword to define the method, and this is the method name. You can give any name. Importing means however function module has importing parameters, same way the method also has importing parameter which takes, this is the parameter name, val1 is the parameter name which is declared, which is defined with the type I integer. Similarly, we are defining another method, methods get value, exporting val2 type I. So this method set value is taking and this method get value is giving. It's a taking and giving. So every class has two parts, whether it is a local class or a global class. That is definition and implementation. In the definition, we have attributes and methods. We have defined attributes and methods here under the public section. It means int is a public attribute, set value is a public method, get value is a public method, which can be accessed outside the class. Outside the class. Outside the class means this is a local class. Means outside the class these are accessible. Means in the program, because it's a local class, you cannot call these methods outside this ABAP program. So these are called public attributes. Now these will be implemented in the implementation. During the implementation, we need to write method name. Method name is set value and end method. Method name, end method. Here set value is taking val1. Set value is taking val1. So we take that val1 and we keep it in the declared attribute in. We take the val1 and we keep it in the int. So method set value end method. We take the val1 and we keep it in the int. Similarly, method get value end method. And we have taken the val1 and we kept it in the int. Now same int we will pass to val2 because here we are taking, here we are giving. That's it. It's a simple one we have done. So in the implementation, while defining we write methods, but in the implementation we write only method. Set value, end method. Importing val1, whatever val1 is there, we take it and we keep it in the int. Then method get value and same int we will pass it to val. We define class A definition, class A implementation, and define the methods and attributes and implement it. Now we need to call this class. We need to instantiate this class in the same program because it is a local class. For that, we need to write an event start of selection. And here we need to create an object for the class. OBJ type ref2. We use in procedural approach we use type, but in object oriented approach we use type ref2. A is a class, OBJ is an object instantiation of the class. But here the memory is not allocated for OBJ at, because with this syntax OBJ is just referring to the class. To allocate memory, we need to write this syntax. We can see this in the debugging. When we write create object OBJ, then only memory is allocated for the object OBJ. Now let us call method OBJ, call method OBJ set value, call method OBJ set value. Here, however, in function module also importing becomes exporting, exporting becomes importing. Same here also importing becomes exporting. Then val1 equal to, let us pass our parameter here p underscore int. Similarly, call method OBJ, we have different signatures. We will understand that in the next class, all possible ways. Now just importing val2. Here call method is the syntax to call the method, like call function, like call database procedure, like we discussed in the previous class, database procedure proxy. Call method obj is the object. We use single arrow. Set value is the method. Here importing becomes exporting. Val1 equal to, we are passing the same whatever user is entering. Now get value, this exporting becomes importing, and val2. So let us define some variable here. Now write L. So whatever we are passing, we are getting here, and same thing we are writing. Now let's see how it will work. Let me keep the breakpoint here so that we can understand. I'm passing some value here. If you look at OBJ, for example, LV type I, if I write I, nothing will be allocated here, you see, invalid variable. But if I write LV, you can see some memory is allocated, and because I is a predefined data type or data type, for that memory is not allocated. LV is a variable or data type, for that memory is allocated. Same way if I type A, which is a class, same situation. But OBJ is instantiation of the class, for that memory is allocated, but at the moment it is initial. Once the create object OBJ is executed, then see, it is not initial. Now object memory is allocated. Whatever we have given in the p underscore int 3, it is taking that and passing to the method. Then it is going to, if I go to the F5, then you can go to the method code C, and whatever is there, it is assigning to the value. Then finally it is writing. So this is how it's executing. If you want, let me execute again. So object is creating. If you press F5, it is taking the p underscore int and going to the set value method and take the val1, and it is passed to int. Now same way it is going to get value and going to F5 and passing to the value. So this is how actually this is how actually it's working. So is it clear, everyone? Any questions on this local class hello world kind of program? Can I get responses in the chat box, or let me know if you have any questions, so we can go to the next topic for today. Is it clear, everyone? Hello, are you able to hear me?
Sir, clear.
Clear, sir, clear.
Thanks. Okay, now you can find the same program in this document, and before that I need to explain you what is instance and static. Even I'm opening another document, so you can find here even instance static, and now I am going to explain instance static practically. What is instance? What is the static? Does anyone have idea here what is instance and static? I just want to double check before I explain. Does anyone have idea in this group what is instance and what is a static? Okay, not an issue. Let me tell you. Instance belongs to object Instance belongs to object. There is a separate copy for each object. Instance belongs to object. Instance means it belongs to object. There is a separate copy for each object. Static belongs to class. There is a single copy across all objects. Let me tell you again. Instance belongs to object. Whenever it belongs to object, definitely it is related to object. So there is a separate copy for each object. And when we call instance methods or attributes, we should create object and we should access those methods and attributes. If the method or attribute is instance, we should create object and we should access. So instance belongs to object of a class. There is a separate copy across all objects and we access these methods or attributes by creating an object. Now what about static? Static means it belongs to class. There is a single copy across all objects of a class. We access these methods or attributes with the class. We access these methods or attributes with the class. Now I am going to explain instance and class like practically. So for that I am creating another local class. Maybe I may not complete this, but I will start. In the next class we will complete it. So as usual, I am creating session is a class. Here class session definition and a class session implementation. Here I am creating a class. The name is session is the class session. Usually why I am using this session, we have ABAP memory and SAP memory concept. So import export are like ABAP memory and set parameter get parameter is like SAP memory. SAP memory is a global and ABAP memory is a local. I am using same concept, same terms as method names. That's it. There is no difference for that and this. I am using the same methods to explain you instance and static. Class session definition and class session implementation and class. Here under public section, first I am defining data or before that let me define some methods ABAP memory, same like set value get value here, same like set value get value here. We are defining set ABAP memory. However, we define methods set value and importing val1 type by here, methods set ABAP memory, importing IV ABAP memory type char 100. Same way methods get ABAP memory, exporting EV ABAP memory type char 100. So we have defined set ABAP memory like set value, get ABAP memory like get value. Same way we are also defining set SAP memory, importing IV SAP memory, type char 100. Methods get SAP memory, exporting here IV SAP memory, EV SAP memory, type char 100. Okay, anyway, we will discuss this, but before that, let me define some attributes in the provide section. What you need to understand here is data. Usually, if it is data, it is an instance attribute. Data means it's an instance attribute. For example, ABAP memory, type char 100. And if I define class hyphen data, it's a static attribute. So here under private section, we are defining one is instance attribute and another one is static attribute. Under private section, data means ABAP memory is an instance attribute. Whatever we did in the previous local class, they are all instance attributes. If I do class hyphen data, then it is a static attribute. Same way, if it is methods, if it is instance method. Can anyone tell me if I want to define static method, how I have to do that?
With class name.
Class hyphen methods. If it is class hyphen methods, it's a static method. If it is a methods, it's an instance method. Now, it's the same like method set value, get value, method set value, get value. It's the same like we did. Now let us implement method set ABAP memory, end method. Here it's taking IV ABAP memory, same like set value. Now take this and keep it in the instance attribute which we define. Same way method get ABAP memory, same like get value. Now whatever you keep it in the ABAP memory and give it to this EV ABAP memory. Same like set value, get value we are doing here. Now implement also set SAP memory. Take IV SAP memory and keep it in the SAP memory. And end method. And again method get SAP memory. And whatever we take IV SAP memory and we kept it in SAP memory, pass the same thing to EV SAP. So here nothing is there to understand whatever in the previous we implemented, same thing we did with the different methods. Now anyone can tell me if you want to observe instance and static, is it enough if I create one object or do I need to create two objects? Like how many objects do we need to create to understand instance and static? Is my question clear everyone? To understand instance and static, is it enough if I create one object, or do I need to create two objects? Because if you look at the definition, instance means it belongs to object. There is a separate copy for each object. So definitely, if I create only one object, I don't know whether it is a separate copy or a single copy. If I create at least two, then we can understand it is a separate copy or a single copy. So we are going to create two objects, data, obj1, type ref2, session, create object obj1, data, obj2, type ref2, session, create object obj2. Now same way we are calling call method obj1 set ABAP memory. So importing becomes exporting. So exporting IV ABAP memory. Here I am passing let's ABAP memory 1. Now I am calling obj2 this time also set ABAP memory. Let us do that. Exporting IV ABAP memory. ABAP memory. Now similarly we call also we set also SAP memory. Just change instead of ABAP SAP. 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 And here SAP. Similarly, here call method obj1 exporting. We are doing exporting. Now what we need to do? We need to import obj1. Now not set ABAP memory, get ABAP memory. Exporting becomes importing because you look at this method. Get ABAP memory. Exporting. Get ABAP memory. Now exporting becomes importing and the parameter is EV ABAP memory. Now here we are exporting, same like set parameter, get parameter. So I am declaring ABAP1 type char 100 for this and data ABAP2 type char 100 and data SAP1 type char 100, data SAP2 type char 100. Here I am taking ABAP1. Same way obj2 get ABAP memory ABAP2. Now obj1 get SAP memory. SAP memory SAP1. OBJ2. Now, anyone can tell me by looking at this code, what is the output? What is the output? You just understand this piece of ABAP code and what is your guess on this output? You are passing IV ABAP memory 1 and ABAP memory 2 and SAP memory 1, SAP memory 2 and same thing you are receiving here, right? Now, what is this output? Anyone can guess? I will complete in another 2 minutes, guys. Just wait 2 minutes. By looking at this code, anyone can guess what is the output? Usually we expect like this, correct? ABAP 1 means because you are passing to object 1 set ABAP memory 1. Again from the same object you are getting it into this ABAP 1, so ABAP memory 1. Same way here ABAP memory 2, SAP memory 1, SAP memory 2. Is it clear why I am telling the output ABAP memory 1, ABAP memory 2, SAP memory 1, SAP memory 2? Is it clear or can I elaborate it?
Clear, sir.
Okay. Now if I execute ABAP memory 1, ABAP memory 2, but SAP memory 2, SAP memory 2 is repeated. We expected SAP memory 1, SAP memory 2, but SAP memory 2, SAP memory 2. Why? Because if you observe here, for ABAP memory, it's an instance attribute. For SAP memory is a static attribute. Whatever we are writing in static attribute. So instance means it belongs to object. So there is a separate copy for each object. That's the reason it has written the separate copy for object 1, object. But coming to the static, it belongs to class. So there is a single copy across all objects. First time you have written SAP memory 1, but second time when you write SAP memory 2, it's a static, but it has same memory across objects. So it is overwritten the first one itself like SAP memory 2 because static, it belongs to class. There is a single memory across all objects. That's what instance and static. So in the next class, I complete global class like constructor, class constructor, and interface, inheritance. All those things we will try to complete in the next class. Then we will start AMD. Okay. So do you want holiday tomorrow, guys? Or do you want class? Can you give response in the chat box quickly? So based on the majority, I will take a call.
Sir, holiday.
Okay. So let's take holiday. So because of the majority of the people in the chat box event. So we will meet again in 2020. So I wish you happy and prosperous New Year, and we will meet again on I think today is Tuesday, right? Tomorrow is Thursday. Okay, Thursday we will complete OOPS and we will start AMDP. Okay.
Okay.
So
Happy New Year.
Thank you very much. Have a nice day. We will meet
Sir,
again.
Sir, again,
Yes.
again from January 2nd onwards, మీరు 7 o'clock బ్యాచ్ కి ఏ కాన్సెప్ట్స్ అయితే చెప్పారో 9:30 బ్యాచ్ కి January 2nd నుంచి అవే కాన్సెప్ట్స్ చెప్తున్నారు కదా సార్?
Yes, January 2nd and 3rd there is a demo or a backup class, and from 4th we will start external view, same concept like you missed it right in the past 5 days. That will be.
Yes, sir. Yes.
Okay. Thank you very much. Yeah.
So enter this course when will completed?
Yeah, who is this? Because I want to know who is asking this.
సార్ నేను మహేష్ని. ఇది మీరు ఈ మొత్తం ఎంటర్ ద ఈ కోర్స్ ఎప్పుడు కంప్లీట్ అయింది? నెక్స్ట్ మంత్ ఎండింగ్?
Yeah, but you are which batch basically? Night batch or morning batch? But
మార్నింగ్
catalog, data provisioning, HANA modeling, are these completed for you? HANA migration, new OpenSQL?
Yes, sir. Completed.
If it is the case, AMDP CDS views will take 10 more than 1 week, 10 classes. Then OData 1 week, Theory Launchpad 1 class, UI5 Theory Development Theory Launchpad 1 week, 2 weeks, 4 weeks, another 4 weeks, I can say. 3.5 weeks to 4 weeks.
Okay.
Okay. 3.5 weeks I can say, but I can't guarantee. So it will be done in 3.5 weeks. Another 3.5 weeks. Okay, thank you very much.